I'll give it to you. Mm. 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 भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यम् भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं शान्ति शान्तिः. Om Shri Sai Ram. Welcome all. Auntie Sangeeta, you may start with chapter 26, unit Bhaktapant.
Bhaktapant. Once it so happened that a devotee by name Pant, a disciple of another Sadguru, had the good fortune of visiting Shirdi. He had no mind to go to Shirdi, but man proposes one way and God disposes the other. He was traveling in a BBCI railway train where he met many friends and relations bound for Shirdi. They all asked him to accompany them, and he could not say nay. They alighted at Bombay, while Pant got down at Virar. There he took the permission of his Sadguru for the Shirdi trip, and after arranging for the expenses, left with the party for Shirdi. They all reached the place in the morning and went to the masjid at about 11 a.m. Seeing the concourse of the devotees assembled for Baba's worship, they were all pleased. But Pant suddenly got a fit and fell senseless. They were all frightened. Still, they tried their best to bring him to his senses. With Baba's grace and with pitchers of water which they poured over his head, he regained his consciousness and sat upright as if he was just awakened from sleep. The omniscient Baba, knowing that he was a disciple of another Guru, assured him fearlessness and confirmed his faith in his own Guru by addressing him as follows: Come what may, leave not, but stick to your bolster, support, that's Guru, and ever remain steady, always at one ment in union with him. Pant at once knew the significance of this remark, and thus he was reminded of his Sadguru. This kindness of Baba he never forgot in his life. Harish Chandra Pitale. There was a gentleman named by Harish Chandra Pital in Bombay. He had a son who suffered from epilepsy. He tried many allopathic and Ayurvedic doctors, but there was no cure. There remained only one way of remedy, that is, resorting to the saints. It has been stated in chapter 15 that Das Kanu, by his inimitable and splendid kirtans, spread the fame of Sai Baba in the Bombay presidency. Mr. Pitale heard some of these kirtans in 1910 and learned therefrom and from others that Baba, by his touch and mere glance, cured many incurable diseases. Then a desire arose in his mind to see Sai Baba. Making all preparations and taking presents and fruit baskets, Mr. Pitale came to Shirdi with family, wife, and children. He then went to the masjid with them, prostrated before Baba, and placed his sick son on Baba's feet. No sooner Baba saw the child than an untoward thing happened. The son immediately revolved his eyes and fell down senseless. His mouth began to foam, and his whole body began to perspire profusely, and it seemed as if he breathed himself out. Seeing this, the parents became very nervous and excited. The boy used to get such fits very often, but this fit seemed to persist long. Tears began to flow ceaselessly from the mother's eyes, and she began to wail. crying that her condition was like that of a person who, being afraid of the robbers, ran into a house which collapsed on him, or like a cow fearing a tiger, ran into the hands of a butcher, or like a traveler who, being tormented by the heat of the sun, went to take refuge under a tree, which fell upon him, or like a devout person going for worship into a temple, which collapsed upon him. Then Baba comforted her, saying, "Do not wail like this. Wait a bit. Have patience. Take the boy to your lodging. He'll come to his senses within half an hour." They did as directed by Baba and found that his words came true. As soon as he was taken into the Vada, the boy recovered, and all the Pitale family, husband, wife, and others were very delighted, and all their doubts disappeared. Then Mr. Pitale went with his wife to see Baba and prostrated himself before him very humbly and respectfully, and sat shampooing his legs and mentally thanking Baba for his help. Baba then smilingly said, "Are not all your thoughts, doubts, and apprehensions calmed down now? Hari, Lord, will protect him who has got faith and patience." Mr. Pitale was rich and well-to-do gentleman. He distributed sweetmeats on a large scale and gave Baba excellent fruits and pan, beetle leaves. Mrs. Pitale was very sattvic lady, simple, loving, and faithful. She used to sit near the post, staring at Baba with tears of joy flowing down from her eyes. On seeing her of an amicable and loving nature, Baba was much pleased with her. Like gods, saints are always dependent on their devotees, who surrender and worship them with their heart and soul. After passing some happy days in Baba's company, the Pitale family came to the masjid to take Baba's leave to depart. Baba gave them udi and blessings and called Mr. Pitale close by and said to him, "Bapu, I had given you before rupees 2. Now, now I give you rupees 3. Keep these in your shrine for worship and you'll be benefited." Mr. Pitale accepted these as prasad, prostrated himself again before Baba, and prayed for his blessings. A thought arose in his mind that as this was his first trip to Shirdi, he could not understand what Baba meant when he said that he had given rupees 2 previously. He was curious to have this mystery solved, but Baba kept silent. When Mr. Pitale returned to Bombay, he narrated to his old mother all that had happened at Shirdi and the mystery about Baba's giving him rupees 2 formally. The mother also did not understand the mystery, but thinking seriously about this, she was reminded of an old incident which solved the mystery. She said to her son, "As you now went to Sai Baba with your son, so had your father done when he took you to Akalkot for the darshan of the Maharaj there many years ago. That Maharaj was also a Siddha, perfect yogi, omniscient and liberal. Your father was pure, devout, and his worship was accepted. He then gave your father rupees 2 for being kept in the shrine and worshipped. Your father worshipped them accordingly till his death. But thereafter, the worship was neglected and the rupees were lost. After some years, the memory of these 2 rupees also disappeared. And now, as you are very fortunate, the Akalkotkar Maharaj has appeared to you in the form of Sai Baba, just to remind you of your duties and worship and to ward off all dangers. Now beware henceforth, leave off all doubts and bad thoughts, follow your ancestors and behave well. Go on worshipping the family gods and the rupees. Appraise properly and take pride in the blessings of the saints. Sai Samartha had kindly revived the spirit of bhakti in you. Cultivate it to your benefit. Hearing the remarks of the mother, Mr. Pitale was very much delighted. He came to know and was convinced about the all-pervasiveness of Baba and the significance of his darshana. Thenceforward, he became very careful about his behavior. Mr. Ambadekar. Mr. Gopal Narayan Ambadekar of Pune was a devotee of Baba. He served for 10 years in the Akbari department in the Thana district and in Jawahar state, from where he had to retire. He tried to get some other job, but he did not succeed. He was overtaken by other calamities, and his condition grew from bad to worse. He passed 7 years in this condition, visiting Shirdi every year and placing his grievance before Baba. In 1916, his plight became worse, and he decided to commit suicide in Shirdi. So he came there with his wife and stayed for 2 months. One night, while sitting in a bullock cart in front of Dikshit's Vada, he resolved to end his life by throwing himself into a well close by. He proposed to do one way, but Baba wished to do something else. A few paces from his place, there was a hotel, and its proprietor, Mr. Sagun, a devotee of Baba, came out and accosted him thus. Did you ever read this Akalkotkar Maharaj's life? Ambadekar took that book from Sagun and began to read it. Casually, or we may say providentially, he came across a story which was to this effect. During the lifetime of Akalkot Maharaj, a certain devotee suffered very much from an incurable disease, and when he could endure the agony and pain no longer, he became desperate, and to end his miseries, threw himself one night into a well. Immediately the Maharaj came there and took him out with his own hands and advised him thus: You must enjoy the fruit, good or bad, of your past actions. If the enjoyment be incomplete, suicide won't help you. You have to take another birth and suffer again. So instead of killing yourself, why not suffer for some time and finish up your store of the fruit of your past deeds and be done with it once and for all? Reading this appropriate and timely story, Ambadekar was much surprised and moved. Had he not got Baba's hint through the story, he would have been no more. On seeing Baba's all-pervasiveness and benevolence, his faith in him was confirmed and he became a staunch devotee. His father was a devotee of Akalkotkar Maharaj, and Sai Baba wanted him to walk into his father's footsteps and continue his devotion to him. He then got Sai Baba's blessings and his prospects began to improve. He studied astrology and gained proficiency in it and thereby improved a lot. He was able to earn sufficient money and passed his afterlife in ease and comfort. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be all. Chapter 27. Favor shown by giving Bhagavat and Vishnu Sahasranam Dikshit's Vitthal vision, Gita Rahasya Kapardes. This chapter describes how Sai Baba favored his devotees by granting them religious books after he had touched and consecrated them for Parayana, reading regularly, and certain other matters. Preliminary. When a man takes a plunge into the sea, he gets the merit of bathing in all the tirthas and sacred rivers. Similarly, when a man takes refuge at the feet of the Sadguru, he gets the merit of bowing to the Trinity, that is Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, and also Parabrahma. Victory be unto Sri Sai, the wish-fulfilling tree and the ocean of knowledge, who gives us self-realization. O Sai, create in us regard for your stories. Let the readers and audience devour them with the same relish with which the chatak birds drink the water from the clouds and become happy. While listening to your stories, let them and their families get all the sattvic emotions, that is, let their bodies perspire, let their eyes be full of tears, let their prana be steady, let their minds be composed, let their hair stand on end, let them cry, sob, and shake, let their hostilities and their distinctions great and small vanish. If these things happen, that is a sign of the grace of the Guru dawning upon them. When these emotions develop in you, the Guru is most pleased and will certainly lead you on to the goal of self realization. The best way, therefore, to get free from the shackles of Maya is our complete and wholehearted surrender to Baba. The Vedas cannot take you across the ocean of Maya. It is only the Sadguru who can do so and make you see the Lord in all creatures. Granted, granting consecrated book, the variety of imparting instructions followed by Baba has already been noticed in the previous chapters. In this, we shall deal with one aspect of it. It was the habit of some devotees to take some religious books of which they wanted to make a special study to Baba and to receive the same back from him after they were touched and consecrated by him. While reading daily books, they felt that Baba was with them. Once Kaka Mahajani came to Shirdi with a copy of Ekanati Bhagavat. Shama took that book to read and taking it with him went to the masjid. There Baba took it from him, touched it, and turning some pages here and there, gave it back to Shama and asked him to keep it with him. When Shama said that it belonged to Kaka and had to be returned to him, no, no, said Baba, as I've given it to you, better keep it with you for safe custody. It'll be of use to you. In this way, many books were entrusted to Shama. Kaka Mahajani, after some days, came again with another copy of the same Bhagavat and gave it in Baba's hand. Then Baba gave it back as prasad and asked him to preserve it well and assured him that it would stand him in good stead. Kaka accepted it with a bow. Shama and Vishnu Sahasranama. Shama was a very intimate devotee of Baba, and Baba wanted to favor him in a particular way by giving him a copy of Vishnu Sahasranam as prasad. This was done in the following way. Once a Ramadasi, follower of Saint Ramadas, came to Shirdi and stayed for some time. The routine he followed daily was as follows. He got up early in the morning, washed his face, bathed, and then after wearing saffron-colored clothes and besmearing himself with sacred ashes, read Vishnu Sahasranama, a book giving 1,000 names in praise of Vishnu and held second in importance to Bhagavad Gita, and Adhyatma Ramayana, esoteric version of Rama's story with faith. He read these books often, and then after some days, Baba thought of favoring and initiating Shama with Vishnu Sahasranam. He therefore called the Ramadasi to him and said to him that he was suffering from intense stomach pain, and unless he took Senapods, Sonamukhi, a mild purgative drug, the pain would not stop. So he should please go to the bazaar and bring the drug. The Ramadasi closed his readings and went to the bazaar. Then Baba descended from his seat, came to the Ramadasi's place of reading, took out the copy of Vishnu Sahasranam, and coming to his seat, said to Shama, "O Shama, this book is very valuable and efficacious, so I present it to you. You read it. Once I suffer intensely, and my heart began to palpitate, and my life was in danger. At that critical time, I hugged the book to my heart, and then, Shama, what a relief it gave me. I thought that Allah Himself came down and saved me. So I give this to you. Read it slowly, little by little. Read daily one name at least, and it'll do you good." Shama replied that he did not want it, and that the owner of it, the Ramadasi, who was a bad, obstinate, and irritable fellow, would certainly pick a quarrel with him. Besides being a rustic himself, he could not read distinctly the Sanskrit Devanagari letters of the book. Shama thought that Baba wanted to set him up against the Ramadasi by this act of his, but he had no idea of what Baba felt for him. Baba must have thought to tie this necklace of Vishnu Sahasranam round the neck of Shama, as he was an intimate devotee, to a rustic, and thus save him from the miseries of the worldly existence. The efficacy of God's name is well known. It saves us from all sins and bad tendencies, frees us from the cycle of births and deaths. There is no easier sadhana than this. It is the best purifier of our mind. It requires no paraphernalia and no restrictions. It is so easy and so effective. This sadhana, Baba wanted Shama to practice, though he did not crave for it. So Baba forced this on him. It also reported that long ago, Eknath Maharaj similarly forced this Vishnu Sahasranam on a poor Brahmin neighbor and thus saved him. The reading and study of this Vishnu Sahasranam is a broad, open way of purifying the mind, and hence Baba thrust on his Shah. The Ramadasi returned soon with the Senapods. Anna Chinchanikar, who was then present and who wanted to play the part of Narada, the celestial rishi, who was well known for setting up quarrels between gods and demons and vice versa, informed him of what had happened. The Ramadasi at once flared up. He came down at once on Shama with all fury. He said that it was Shama who set Baba to send him away under the pretext of stomach ache for bringing the medicine and thus got the book. He began to scold and abuse Shama and remarked that if the book be not returned, he would dash his head before him. Shama calmly remonstrated with him, but in vain. Then Baba spoke kindly to him as follows: O Ramadasi, what's the matter with you? Why are you so turbulent? Is not Shama our boy? Why do you scold him unnecessarily? How is it that you are so quarrelsome? Can you not speak soft and speak sweet words? You read daily these sacred books, and still your mind is impure and your passions uncontrolled. What sort of a Ramadasi you are? You ought to be indifferent to all things. Is it not strange that you should covet this book so strongly? A true Ramadasi should have no attachment but have samatha, equality towards all. You are now quarreling with the boy Shama for a mere book. Oh, take your seat. Books can be had in plenty for money, but not men. Think well and be considerate. What worth is your book? Shama had no concern with it. I took it up myself and gave it to him. You know it by heart. I thought Shama might read it and profit thereby, and I so gave it to him. How sweet were those words of Baba, soft, tender, and nectar-like. Their effect was wonderful. The Ramadasi calmed down and said to Shama, and he would take Pancharatni Gita in return. Shama was much pleased and said, Why one? I shall give 10 copies in return. So the matter was ultimately compromised. The question for consideration is, why should the Ramadasi press for Pancharatni Gita, the God in which he never cared to know? And why should he, who daily read religious books in the masjid in front of Baba, quarrel with Shama before him? We do not know how to apportion the blame and whom to blame. We only say that this procedure be not gone through, the importance of the subject, the efficacy of God's name, and the study of Vishnu Sahasranam would not have been brought home to Shama. So we can say that Baba's method of teaching and initiating was unique. In this cases, Shama did gradually study the book and mastered its contents to such an extent that he was able to explain it to Professor G.G. Narke, M.A. of the College of Engineering, Pune, the son-in-law of Sriman Bhuti and devotee of Baba. Vitthal Vision. One day, while Kaka Sahib Dikshit was in meditation after his morning bath in his vada at Shirdi, he saw a vision of Vitthal. When he went to see Baba afterwards, Baba asked him, Did Vitthal Patil come? Did you not see him? He's very elusive. Hold him fast, otherwise he'll give you the slip and run away. Then at noon, a certain hawker came there with 20 or 25 pictures of Vitthal of Pandharpur for sale. Mr. Dikshit was surprised to see that form of Vitthal he saw in his meditation exactly tallied with that in the picture, and he was also reminded of Baba's words. He therefore bought one picture most willingly and kept it in his shrine for worship. Gita Rahasya. Baba always loved those who studied Brahma Vidya, metaphysics, and encouraged them. To give an instance, once Bapu Sahib Jog received a post parcel contained a copy of Gita Rahasya by Lokmanya Tilak. Taking it under his armpit, he came to the masjid and prostrated himself before Baba when the parcel fell at Baba's feet. Baba inquired what it was. It was opened then and the book was placed in Baba's hand. He turned some pages here and there for a few minutes and took out a rupee from his pocket, placed in the book, and handed the same with a rupee to Jog and said to him, "Read this completely and you'll be benefited." Mr. and Mrs. Carpade. Let us close this chapter with a description of the Kaparde. Once Dada Saheb Kaparde came with his family and lived in Shirdi for some months. The diary of his stay has been published in English in the Sri Sai Leela magazine, first volume. Dada Saheb was not an ordinary man. He was the richest and most famous advocate of Amrati, Berar, and was a member of the Council of State, Delhi. He was very intelligent and a very good speaker. Still, he dared not open his mouth before Baba. Most devotees spoke and argued with Baba off and on, but only three, that's Kaparde, Nulkar, and Booty, kept always silent. They were meek, modest, humble, and good natured. Dada Saheb, who was able to expound Panchadashi, a well known Sanskrit treatise on the Advaita philosophy by the famous Vidyaranya, to others, said nothing or uttered no word when he came to the masjid before Baba. Really, a man, however learned he may be even in Vedas, fades away before one who has realized Brahman and became one with. Learning cannot shine before self-realization. Dada Sahib stayed for 4 months, but Mrs. Kaparde stayed for 7. Both were highly pleased with their Shirdi stay. Mrs. Kaparde was faithful and devout and loved Baba deeply. Every noon she brought Nevedya herself to the masjid, and after it was accepted by Baba, she used to return and take her meals. Seeing her steady and firm devotion, Baba wanted to exhibit to others. One noon she brought a dish containing sanza, wheat pudding, puris, rice, soup, and kheer, sweet rice, and other sundry articles to the masjid. Baba, who usually waited for hours, got up at once, went to his dining seat, and removing the outer covering from the dish, began to partake of the things zealously. Shama then asked him, "Why this partiality? You threw away dishes of others and do not care to look at them. But this you draw to you earnestly and do justice to it. Why is the dish of this woman so sweet? This is a problem to us." Baba then explained, "This food is really extraordinary. In the former birth, this lady was a merchant's fat cow yielding much milk. Then she disappeared and took birth in a gardener's family, then in a Kshatriya family, and married a merchant. Then she was born in a Brahmin family. I saw her after a very long time. Let me take some sweet morsels of love from her dish." After saying this Baba did full justice to her dish, washed his mouth and hands, gave, gave out some belches as a mark of satisfaction, and resumed his seat. Then she made a bow and began to shampoo Bambua's legs, and he began to talk with her and knead her arms, which were shampooing his legs. On seeing this reciprocal service, Shama began to joke and said, "It's going on well. It's a wonderful sight to see God and his bhakta serving each other." After being pleased with her sincere service, Baba asked her in low and fascinating tone to chant Raja Rama, then and always said, "If you do this, your life's object will be gained, your mind will attain peace, and you will be immensely benefited." To persons unfamiliar with spiritual matters, this might appear as a fair, but really it was not so. It was a case of what is technically called Shaktipat, that is, transference of power from the Guru to disciple. How forcible and effective were Baba's words. In an instant, they pierced her heart and found lodgment there. This case illustrates the nature of the relations that should subsist between the Guru and the disciple. Both should love and serve each other as one. There is no distinction nor any difference between them. Both are one, and one cannot live without the other. The disciple placing his head on the Guru's feet is a gross and outward vision. Really and internally, they are both one and the same. Those who see any difference between them are yet unripe and are not perfect. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be all.
Thank you, Auntie Sangeeta. Saira. We'll now have Brother Sushant to read the next chapter.
Saram. Sparrows drawn to Shirdi. Lakshmi Chand, Burhanpur Lady, Megha. Preliminary. Sai is not finite or limited. He dwells in all beings, from ants and insects to the god Brahma. He pervades all. Sai was well versed in the knowledge of the Vedas as well as in the science of self realization. As he was proficient in both these, he was well fitted to be the Sadguru. Anyone, though learned but not able to awaken the disciples and establish them in self realization, does not deserve to be called a Sadguru. Generally, the worldly parents give birth to the body, but that invariably follows life. But Sadguru does away with both life and death, and so he is more kind and merciful than anybody. Sai Baba often said that, let his man, devotee, be at any distance, 1,000 crores away from him, he will be drawn to Shirdi like a sparrow with a thread tied to its feet. This chapter describes the stories of three such sparrows. 1. Lal Lakshmi Chand. This gentleman was first serving in the Sri Venkateshwara Press in Mumbai, then in the railway department, and afterwards in the firm of Messrs. Raleigh Brothers and Co. as a Munshi clerk. He came in Baba's contact in 1910. Once 1 or 2 months before Christmas, he saw in his dream at Santa Cruz, a suburb of Mumbai, an old man with a beard standing surrounded by his bhaktas. A few days later, he went to his house of his friend, Mrs. Dattatreya Manjunath Birud, to hear the Kirtan by Das Ganu. It was, as is always the practice of Das Ganu, to keep Baba's picture in front of the audience while doing the Kirtan. Lakshmi Chand was surprised to see that the features of the old man he saw in his dream tallied exactly with those in the picture, and thus came to the conclusion that the old man he saw in his dream was Sai Baba himself. The sight of this picture, Das Ganu Kirtan, and the life of Saint Tukaram on which Das Ganu discoursed, all these things made a deep impression on his mind, and he decided to go to Shirdi. It is always the experience of the Bhaktas that God always helps them in their search for Sadguru and other spiritual endeavors. That very night, a friend named Shankararao knocked at his door and asked him whether he would accompany him to Shirdi. His joy knew no bounds, and he at once decided to go to Shirdi. He borrowed rupees 15 from his cousin, and after making due preparations, left for Shirdi. In the train, he and his friend Shankararao did some bhajan, sang religious songs, and inquired about Sai Baba with some fellow passengers. 4 Mohammedans who were returning to their place near Shirdi. They all told them that Sai Baba was a great saint living in Shirdi for many years. When they reached Kopergaon, he wanted to buy some good guavas as offering to Baba, but he was so wrapped in the scenery and sights there that he forgot to purchase them. When they were nearing Shirdi, he was reminded of the guavas. Just then, he saw an old woman with a guava basket on her head running after the Tonga. The Tonga was stopped, and he gladly purchased some fruits. When the woman said, take all the rest and offer them on my behalf to Baba, the fact is that he had intended to purchase guavas but had forgotten to do so. The old woman's encounter and her devotion to Baba, all these were a pleasant surprise to both the friends, and Lakshmi Chand thought in his mind that the old woman might be some relation of the old man he saw in his dream. Then they drove on and came near Shirdi, and on seeing flags on the masjid, they saluted them. With puja materials in hand, they went to the masjid and worshipped Baba with due ritual. Lakshmi Chan was much moved and was extremely happy to see Baba. He wrapped himself around with Baba's feet as a bee with a sweet smelling lotus. Then Baba spoke as follows: Cunning fellows, he does bhajans on the way and inquiries from others. Why ask others? Everything we should see with our own eyes. Where is the necessity to question others? Just think of yourself whether your dream is true or not. Where was the necessity of the darshan by taking a loan from a Marwari? Is the heart's desire now satisfied? Hearing these words, Lakshmichan was wonderstruck at Baba's omniscience. He was at a loss to know how Baba came to know about all the things that had happened en route from his house to Shirdi. The chief thing to note in this respect is that Baba never liked people to borrow or take loan from his devotees or celebrating any holiday or making any pilgrimage. Sansa. At noon, when Lakshmichan was sitting for meals, he got some sandha, wheat pudding, from a devotee as prasad. He was pleased to have it. Next day also he expected it, but got nothing. So he was anxious to get it again. Then, on the third day at the noon aarti time, Bapu Sahib Jog asked Baba what naivedya he should bring. Baba told him to bring sandha. Then the bhaktas brought two big pots full of sandha. Lakshmichan was very hungry and there was some pain in his back. Then Baba said to him, It is good that you are hungry. Take sanza and some medicine for the pain in the back. He was again wonderstruck to see that Baba again read his mind and spoke out what was passing therein. How omniscient was he? Evil eye. During this visit, he, Lakshmishan, also witnessed one night the procession at the Chavadi. Baba then suffered much from cough. He thought that the suffering of Baba might be due to somebody's evil eye. Next morning, when he went to Masjid, Baba spoke to Shama as follows: I suffered last night from cough as it due to some evil eye. I think that somebody's evil eye has worked on me, and so I am suffering. In this case, Baba spoke out what was passing in Lakshmishan's mind. On seeing these proofs of Baba's omniscience and kindness to his bhaktas, he fell prostrate at Baba's feet and said, I am much blessed with your darshan. Ever be kind and merciful to me and protect me always. There is no other God to me in this world except you. Let my mind be ever wrapped in your bhajan and feet. Let your grace protect me from the miseries of the world and let me ever chant your name and be happy. After getting Baba's Sudhi and blessings, he returned home with his friend, much pleased and content, and was singing bhajans and singing Baba's glory on the way. He remained a staunch devotee of Baba, then onwards, and always sent garlands and flowers, camphor and dakshina with any person of his acquaintance bounds for Shirdi. Baranpur lady. Now let us turn to another sparrow devotee. One day in Baranpur saw in her dream Sai Baba coming to her door and begging khichdi, rice cooked with dal and salt, for his meal. On waking up, she saw nobody at her door. However, she was pleased with the vision and told it to all, including her husband. He was employed in the postal department, and when he was transferred to Akola, both husband and wife, who were devout persons, decided to go to Shirdi. Then, on a suitable day, they left for Shirdi, and after visiting Gomati Tirth on the way, reached Shirdi and stayed there for 4 months and 2 months. Every day they went to the masjid, worshipped Baba, and passed their time happily. The couple came to Shirdi to offer khichdi as Naivedya, but for the first 14 days, somehow or other, it could not be offered. The lady did not like this delay or tardiness. Then on the 15th day, she came at noon to the masjid with the khichdi. There she found that Baba and others were already sitting for meals and that the curtain was drawn. Nobody dared enter in when the curtain was drawn, but the lady could not wait. She lifted up the curtain and entered. Strange to say, that Baba seemed that day hungry for khichdi and wanted that thing first. And then the lady came in with the dish. Baba was delighted and began to eat morsel after morsel of khichdi. On seeing the earnestness of Baba in this respect, everybody was wonderstruck, and those who heard the story of Khichdi were convinced about his extraordinary love for his devotees. Megha. Now let us go to the third sparrow, Megha, of Viramagon, was a simple and illiterate Brahmin cook of Rao Bahadur H.V. Seth. He was a devotee of Shiva and always chanted five syllabled mantra, Namah Shivaya. He did not know the Sandhya nor its chief mantra, the Gayatri. Rao Bahadur Sathe was interested in him, taught him the Sandhya and the Gayatri. Sathe told him that Sai Baba of Shirdi was the embodied form of God Shiva and made him start for Shirdi. At Broch railway station, he learned that Sai Baba was a Muslim, and his simple and orthodox mind was much perturbed at the prospect of bowing down to a Muslim, and he prayed to his master not to send him there. His master, however, insisted on his going there and gave him a letter of introduction to his Sate's father-in-law, Ganesh Damodar, alias Dada Kelkara Shirdi, to introduce him to Sai Baba. When he reached Shirdi and went to the masjid, Baba was very indignant and would not allow him to enter. Kick out the rascal, roared Baba, and then said to Megha, "You are a high caste Brahmin and I am a low Muslim. You will lose your caste by coming here. Just get out." On hearing these words, Megha began to tremble. He was wondering as to how Baba had come to know about what was passing in his mind. He stayed there for some days serving Baba in his own way, but was not convinced. Then he went home and then to Triambak, Nashik district, and stayed there for a year and a half. Then again he returned to Shirdi. This time, at the intersection of Dada Kelkar, he was allowed to enter the masjid and stay in Shirdi. Sai Baba's help to Megha was not through any oral instruction. He worked upon Megha internally, mentally, with the result that he was considerably changed and benefited. Then Megha began to look upon Sai Baba as an incarnation of Shiva. In order to worship Shiva, bell leaves are required, and Megha used to go miles and miles every day to bring them and worship Shiva, Baba. His practice was to worship all the deities in the village and then come to the masjid, and after saluting Baba's gadi, as in he worshipped Baba, and after doing some service, shampooing his legs, drying the washings teeth of Baba's feet. Once it so happened that he came to the masjid without worshipping Khandova, as the door of the temple was closed. Baba did not accept his worship and sent him back again, saying that the door was open. Then Mega went, found the door open, worshipped the deity, and then returned to Baba as usual. Ganges Bath. On one Makar Sankranti day, Megha went to smear the body of Baba with sandal paste and bathe him with Ganges water. Baba was first unwilling to undergo this, but at his repeated request, he consented. Megha had to traverse a distance of 8 courses, going and returning, to bring the sacred water from the Godavari river. He brought the water, made all preparations for the bath at noon, and asked Baba to get ready for the same. Then Baba again asked him to be spared from this bath, saying that as a fakir he had nothing to do with Ganges water. But Megha did not listen to him. He knew that Shiva is pleased with Abhishek, sacred bath, on the auspicious day. Baba then consented, came down and sat on a wooden board, and projecting his head, said, "O Megha, do this at least this favor. Head is the most important organ of the body, so pour the water over that only. It is equivalent to the whole bath." "All right," said Megha, and lifting the water poured upon pot up, began to pour it on the head. But in doing this, he was so much overwhelmed with love that he cried out, Har Har Gange, Hail Goddess Ganga, and emptied the pot on the whole body. He kept the pot aside and began to look at Baba, but to his surprise and amazement, he found that only Baba's head was drenched while the body quite dry. Trident and Pindi. Mega worshipped Baba at two places. In the masjid, he worshipped Baba in person, and in the Wada, Baba's big picture given by Nana Sahib Chandorkar. This he did for 12 months. Then, in order to appreciate his devotion and confirm his faith, Baba gave him a vision. One morning, when Mega was still lying down on his bed with eyes closed but entirely awake, he saw clearly Baba's form. Baba, knowing him to be awake through akshanta, rice grains marked red with kumkum, and said, Mega, draw a trident, and disappeared. Hearing Baba's words, he eagerly opened his eyes, saw no Baba there, but only rice grains spread there, here and there. He then went to Baba, told him about the vision, and asked permission to draw trident. Baba said, Did you not hear me? My words asking you to draw trident, it was no vision but direct order. My words are always pregnant with meaning and never hollow. Mega said, I thought you woke me up, but all the doors were closed, so I was doubtful and thought it to be a vision. Baba rejoined, I require no door to enter. I have no farm. I always live everywhere. As a wire puller, I carry on all the actions of the man who trusts me and merges in me. Megha returned to the Vada and drew a red trident on the wall near Baba's picture. Next day, a Ramdasi Bhakta came from Pune, saluted Baba, and offered him Pindi, a phallic image of Shiva. At this time, Megha also turned up there. Baba said to him, See, Shankar has come. Protect, worship him now. Megha was pleasantly surprised to see Pindi. Also in the Vada, Kakasaheb Dikshit was standing with a towel on his head after having taken his bath and was remembering Sai when he saw a pindi in his mental vision. When he was wondering about this, Megha came and showed him the pindi presented to him by Baba. Dixit was happy to know that this pindi exactly tallied with the one he saw a few minutes before in his vision. In a few days, after the drawing of the trident was complete, Baba installed the pindi near the picture which Megha was worshipping. The worship of Shiva was dear to Megha, and by drawing of the trident and the installation of the Pindi, Baba confirmed his faith therein. After continuous service of Baba for many years, doing regular worship and arti every noon and evening, Megha passed away in 1912. Then Baba passed his hand over his mortal remains and said, This was a true devotee of mine. Baba also ordered that at his own expense and the funeral dinner should be given to the Brahmins, and this order was carried out by Kakasaheb Dikshit, Botushi Sahib, peace be to all. Chapter 29. Stories of Chennai uh, Bhajani Mela, Tendulkar's father and son, Dr. Captain Head, woman Narvekar. This chapter describes other interesting and wonderful story of Sai Baba. Chennai's Bhajani Mela. It was in the year 1916 when the Chennai's Bhajani Mela party of the Ramdasi Panth started on a pilgrimage to the holy city of Benares. The party consisted of a man, his wife, daughter, and sister-in-law. Unfortunately, their names are not mentioned. On their way, the party heard that there lived in Shirdi, Ahmednagar district, a great saint named Sai Baba, who was God realized and who was very generous and distributed money every day to his bhaktas and to skillful persons who went and showed their talent there. A lot of money in the form of Dakshina was collected daily by Sai Baba, and out of his amount, he gave daily 1 rupee to a 3-year-old girl, Amani, the daughter of a Bhakta Kodaji, and rupees 2 to 5 to some, rupees 6 to Jamali, the mother of Amani, and rupees 10, 20, or even 50 to other bhaktas as he released. On hearing all this, the party came to Shirdi and stayed there. The Mela did very good bhajans and sang very good songs. But inwardly they desired money. Three of the party were full of avarice, but the lady or mistress was of a very different nature. She had regard and love for Baba. Once it so happened that when the noonday aarti was going on, Baba was much pleased with her faith and devotion and gave her the vision of Ishtar, chosen deity. To her, Baba appeared as Sitanath, Ram, while to all others, the usual Sainath. On seeing her beloved deity, was very much moved. Tears began to flow from her eyes and she clapped her hands in joy. The people began to wonder at her joyful mood, but were not able to guess this cause. Late in the afternoon, she disclosed everything to her husband. She told him how she saw Sri Ram in Sai Baba. He thought that she was very simple and devout woman, and her seeing Ram might be a creation of her mind. He ignored her, saying that it was not possible that she alone should see Rama, while they all saw Sri Sai Baba there. She did not resent this remark as she was fortunate enough to get Ram Darshan as and when her mind was calm and composed and free from avarice. Wonderful vision. Things were going on like this when the husband got a strange vision in his dream one night. He was in a big city. The police there had arrested him, tied his hands with a rope, and put him up in a cage lockup. As the police were tightening the grip, he saw Sai Baba standing quite outside near the cage. On seeing Baba so close, he said in a plaintive tone, "After hearing your fame, I resorted to your feet. Then why should a calamity befall me when you are standing here in person?" Baba said, "You must suffer the consequences of your action." He said, "I have not done anything in this for which uh, life which would bring such a misfortune on me." Baba said, "If not in this life, you must have committed some sins in your past life." He replied, "I do not know anything of my past life, but assuming that I did commit some sin then, why should it be why should it not be burnt and destroyed in your presence as happens to dry grass before fire? Baba, have you got such faith?" He said, "Yes." Baba then asked him to close his eyes. No sooner did he shut them, he heard a thumping sound of something falling down, and after opening his eyes, he saw that he was free and the police fallen down bleeding. Being much frightened, he began to look at Baba, who said, "Now you are well caught. Officers will now come and arrest you." Then he begged, "There is no other savior except you. Save me somehow." Then Baba again asked him to close his eyes. He did so, and then he opened them again. He saw that he was free out of the cage and that Baba was by his side. He then fell at Baba's feet. Baba then asked him, "Is there any difference between this namaskar and your previous ones?" "Think well and then reply." He said, "There is a lot of difference. My former namaskaras were offered with the object of getting money from you, but the present namaskar is one offered to you as God. Besides, earlier I thought resentfully that you, being a Mohammedan, were spoiling us, the Hindus. Baba, do you not believe in your mind in Mohammedan gods?" He said, "No." Then Baba said, "Have you not got a panja emblem of hand in your house? And do you not worship the same and taboo, that is Mohammedan festival? Also, there is in your house another deity by name Kadbidi, whom you propitiate and appease on marriage occasions and other festivals. Is it not so?" He admitted all this. Then Baba said, "What more do you want? Then a desire arose in his mind to get the darshan of his Guru Ram Das when Baba asked him to turn back and see. And when he turned around, lo, Ram Das was in front of him. No sooner did he bend to fall at his feet, Guru Ram Das vanished. Then he inquiringly asked Baba, "You look old. Do you know your age, Baba? What do you say I am old? Just race with me and see." On saying this, Baba began to run, and he too followed. Baba disappeared in the dust raised by his footsteps while running, and at that moment, man awoke. After waking up, he began to think seriously about the dream vision. His mental attitude was completely changed, and he realized the greatness of Baba. After this, his doubt tendencies disappeared, and true devotion to Baba's feet descended on his mind. The vision was a mere dream, but the question and answers therein were most significant and interesting. Next morning, when all assembled in the masjid for the arti, Baba gave him as prasad 2 rupees worth of sweetmeats and also 2 rupees from his pocket and blessed him. He made him stay there for a few more days and gave him his blessings, saying, Allah God will give you plenty and he will do you all good. He did not get more money there, but he got far better things. That is Baba's blessings, which stood him in good stead all along. The party got plenty of money afterwards, and their pilgrimage was successful as they did not suffer any trouble or inconvenience during their journey. They all returned home safe, thinking of Baba's words and blessings and the Anand bliss experienced by his grace. This story illustrates one of the methods which Baba followed in some cases to improve and reform his devotees. Tendulkar family. There lived in Bandra, a suburb of Mumbai, a Tendulkar family, all the members of which were devoted to Baba. Mrs. Savitribai Tendulkar has published a Marathi book named Shri Sainath Bhajan Mala, containing 800 abhangas and padas describing the Leelas of Baba. It is a book worth reading by those who are interested in Baba. The son, Bapu Tendulkar, was studying hard day and night and wanted to appear for the medical examination. He consulted some astrologers. On examining his horoscope, they told him that the stars were not favorable that year and that he should appear for the examination next year when he would be certainly successful. This cast a gloom over him and made him restless. A few days afterwards, his mother went to Shirdi and saw Baba. Amongst other things, she mentioned the gloomy and morose condition of her son, who was to appear for the examination in a few days. On hearing this, Baba said to her, "Tell your son to believe in me, to throw aside horoscopes and predictions of astrologers and palmist and go on with his studies. Let him appear for the examination with a calm mind. He is sure to pass this year. Ask him to trust me and not to get disappointed." The mother returned home and communicated Baba's message to her son. Then he studied hard and in due course appeared for the examination. In the written papers he did well, but began overtaken by doubts. He thought that he would not secure sufficient marks for passing, so he did not care to appear for the oral examination. But the examiner was after him. He sent word to a fellow student stating that he had passed in the written examination and that he should appear for the oral. The son, uh, being thus encouraged, appeared for the oral examination and was successful in it also. Thus, he got through the examination that year successfully by Baba's grace, though the stars were against him as indicated. It is to be noted here that doubts and difficulties surround us just to move us and confirm our faith. We are tested as it were If we only hold on steadily to Baba with full faith and continue our endeavors, our efforts will be ultimately crowned with success. The father of this boy, Raghunath Rao, was serving in some foreign mercantile firm in Mumbai. As he grew old, he was not able to attend to his work properly, and so he had to take leave and rest. As he did not improve during the period of leave, further extension of leave or premature retirement from service was inevitable. The chief manager of the firm decided to retire him on pension as he was an old and a reliable servant. The question regarding the amount of pension to be given was under consideration. He was given rupees 150 per month, and his pension, that is half the amount, that is 75 rupees, would not be enough to meet the expenses of the family. So they were all anxious about this matter. 15 days before the final settlement, Baba appeared to Mrs. Tendulkar in her dream and said, I wish that rupees 100 should be settled as pension. Will that satisfy you? She replied, Baba, why ask me this? We fully trust you. Though Baba said 100, still he was given to 10 more, that is 110, a special case. Such wonderful love and care did Baba exhibit towards his bhaktas.
Saram Shashank. Thank you. We will now close with our present finish. साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु. Thank you, Sayam. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Auntie Sangeeta and Brother Shashank, for reading today. Sayam.